So many people are unhappy where they are. And it's almost like a toxic tendency to destroy other people's happiness. It gets rather exhausting when you see that many people, and I mean large amounts of people, they're never happy. You know, especially when it comes to countries. They start talking about their home country or somewhere they've been, they absolutely despise it. And it's just constant negativity. It's like, where would you be happy? They often say, don't they, home is where the heart is. And that's true. But too many people, they get lost in the mire of fantasy. You know, it's good to have dreams, but I think you've got to be ground yourself in reality too. Otherwise, you're never going to feel fulfilled. I've just recently posted a video on my YouTube and, of course, on my TikTok as well. And it's literally one, just me driving because I had a long journey to do and I've split it into different videos and all sorts of things. And this one is through Cambridgeshire, rural countryside. I love the countryside. And I think that's something you've got to figure out for yourself is like, what is it you actually want in your life? Like, what do you enjoy? You know, if we just narrow it down to England, the UK, every country has an issue. But where do you place your time and energy? Who do you surround yourself with? If you're placing yourself in situations that don't make you happy, and there's no opportunity for growth, then what are you building towards anyway? What's the point of what you're building towards? It makes no sense. Like I say, I like the countryside, so I choose to live near the countryside. Now, I haven't always had the opportunity to live near the countryside. It took a little while for it to happen, but then you finally you build towards things. So when I see people moaning all the time, I can't help but think, where have they placed themselves? Because all right saying, oh yeah, well you haven't seen the rest of the. It's like most of us have seen a lot of the country. Some of us have. So we're innately aware, like where our happiness would be found. Like where would I find? Where would I really, really be comfortable? I don't like city life. I don't like being in the cities. So it makes no sense for me to gravitate and attract myself towards the city, even if there's higher paying jobs there. I don't care. I don't want to be in the city. So my mental well-being, my happiness, my fulfillment comes from a more simple life. Now, it could be boring to some people. For me, it's true happiness. You know, I like it. So I don't live directly in the countryside, although, you know, if I had my choice, I would. Believe me, I would. So maybe in the future I will. But I'm not too far. Literally, get in the car, go maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes. All of a sudden, I'm hitting the countryside. It's like now road trip. So you don't always have to live directly somewhere to appreciate it or have the opportunity to enjoy it. I think most people in the UK, I mean, most countries anyway, I mean, I'm specific to UK because I'm in the UK, but I think you can find happiness anywhere. Everyone's going to have countryside somewhere. You know, it's not that far. But again, if you keep yourself in misery, then you're just going to stay miserable anyway. But what gets really frustrating for me is where people keep projecting it onto other people. So if, let's say, someone says, I want to move to the UK, and then people are like, oh my God, it's the pits. It's only the pits where you are because that's the pits you created. It's as simple as that. No one's saying financially it's always going to be easy, but then what country is? Take finances out of the equation because it's a fantasy that people have. Like all of a sudden, if I go to this country, life's going to be so much better. Well, anywhere, most places, if they pay more, the cost of living's higher anyway. So you're going to have to find some level of stability in your life or some like sense of normality. But it just gets frustrating. Like I say, if someone has a dream and then other people crush it, and it's like, yeah, if you keep yourself in the middle of cities, then of course there's going to be high crime rates, more because it's high density. You're also going to have just incredibly heavily populated, so you're going to have no space and feel freedom. It's going to feel heavy and dense, and you're going to feel trapped and claustrophobic. So some people they absolutely love it, to other people it's a living nightmare. But then if that's the situation, and it doesn't feel natural to you, remove yourself. If you allow toxic people in your life, or you are the toxic person, then it's something to heal, isn't it? If you can find comfort on your own and not be toxic, I think that's a great place to get to, isn't it? And then all of a sudden you have choices in your life. But I just can't help but think the people who moan a lot about where they live and what they're doing, I just think, for the most part, a lot of people have created that. Not everyone. Again, sometimes we can strive for more. We can strive for improvement. We can strive for something else. But it comes from a decision. And then that decision, if you take action, leads to a different lifestyle. And perhaps even a different life entirely. But I think it's about being pragmatic about it, not just expecting something to heal you entirely. I see that a lot, and I think people are so naive. Let's say someone thinks, I can't handle it. I want to just go Australia. Like Australia is going to fix your problem. If you've got a problem at home, you're probably going to have a problem away. until you address the reason why you have the problem. If the problem is the climate, then fine. That's something that can easily be remedied by going somewhere with a different climate. I'm not even saying it's somewhere hotter. Some people like the cold. Some people like the snow. If it's a climate issue, just sure. If it's not a climate issue, then you've got to ask yourself what it is, because if it's a societal issue, you're going to have societal problems everywhere. Um, I'm very outside. I wouldn't say outspoken. I'm very vocal about the fact that I love my country. I do, and it's not because I'm patriotic in some way. It's just I absolutely like it. I love how quaint things are. I love the simplicity of things, the rawness of it. I see the beauty in it, and I think too many people, they just see negatives because they just want to be entirely negative. And again, I think there's a lot of naivety in that. I think some people, they go on holiday and they have a fantasy that that their life in that situation is going to be just like the holiday. Well, like if we just take America, for example, right now, I think it's an absolute living nightmare. Put me personally, I don't even want to travel there on holiday. I don't want to be there right now. I'm seeing a lot of horror shows about even just immigration and trying to get through the border. It's getting quite corrupt and heavy there. But also, America is very administration heavy. So there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of things you have to declare constantly. Like literally, you have to declare everything. Even if someone gives you a gift, you have to declare it because it might have a money value to it. It's like, this is outrageous. So like someone gives you this controller. From what I understand, you have to freaking declare that I got gifted a controller, and then they'll attach the value of this controller to your income for the year and things. It's like America's all heavy drainage. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't like being negative about other countries. I don't like being like that at all. But I do. But what I'm saying is, I'm acutely aware of how other countries are governed. And I know people talk about like freedoms being taken in the UK and things, but sometimes I think there's a balance between like freedom and justice, because I think too many people get away with just absolutely causing havoc with, and it's quite alarming. So there is a problem, between one or the other, and I get that, but I think there's a lot of there's harsh rules in other countries, far worse than I would say the UK. Like I say, I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. But you're never going to see this if you just stay stuck in the cities anyway. And if you do jobs you hate, get out of those jobs, It's like you can live on less if you take a more of a minimal lifestyle. No one's saying you don't have to go without forever, but it's like, what do you want for your life, I get caught in that myself. I'm a gamer. I like technology. And then all of a sudden when I'm outside and then I'm thinking about like other things, we can't rarely can we have everything. So if I go down the route of I need every gaming gadget, I need every video game, that's great, but it's going to come at the expense. Probably not going to have fuel in the car. You're probably not going to be able to go on holiday. All of a sudden, your lifestyle outside the home is diminished. So if you're always drinking alcohol, always smoking cigarettes, you're vaping, even doing drugs and things, your money has gone in that direction, but also you're destroying your body in the process. So you won't even be healthy enough to enjoy the outside, even if you tried to. So like I say, some people maybe consider that other people's lifestyles boring, but some people live in a better, far more healthy and balanced lifestyle. And it's something that I strive for because, I have things to heal too. And I am aware that every time money is spent in one direction, it removes it from another. And I like freedom. I like to go on road trips. I want holidays. These are things we have to sacrifice for if we want them. But it's like, what do you want to be happy? Literally, if you ask yourself, what is happiness to you? If you can't answer it, then you need to be able to define it. You need to take time to define what happiness is. Because for happiness for you may not be what happiness is for someone else. And guess what? That's normal. It's freaking normal. Too many people try to normalize other people's happiness as theirs because people pressure. So like, for instance, like I said, someone might say, I want to relocate to the UK, and someone will go, oh my God, I can't believe you want to come here. They're just projecting all their misery onto you because they haven't figured out what they want to be happy. If you're not happy in this country, it's rarely are you going to find happiness in another. That's how I see it. You've got to find your bubble first, and then it doesn't matter where you get put. So, like, I don't like America at the moment because of the way it's governed. I don't like the politics. I don't like the landscape over there right now. I think it's very corrupt. It's becoming dystopian. It's quite crazy. But if a career opportunity come that elevated my passion, my creativity, and it gave me something else that maybe I don't have at home, then I would still consider it, even though a large part of me would rather stay here. I'm not going to hold myself back from fulfilling my potential, but it still has to find balance. Like, for instance, it has to be somewhere where I would be happy. But of course, happiness is going to start with me anyway. So wherever I place myself, it's like I'm in a bubble of me. So it doesn't matter where I go, I keep to myself for the most part. I don't really I don't really interact too much in my private life with people who I think are chaotic, for instance. I don't need to be accepted. I don't need to be approved. I don't care if people like me or not. It doesn't bother me. I'm all right on my own company. So it makes me selective of who comes on my journey with me and who's involved in my life. Um, and that's for all of us to really establish for ourselves, because you just let chaos in. It's like tornadoes. It's like, that's crazy, because how do you remove the tornado? Because once they get comfortable, it doesn't want to leave. That's a dodgy place to get to. So really, it's about fine tuning your own life. And again, this circumvents some of societal issues. You know, people find themselves in circumstances that are hard to remove yourself from, especially financially. I get it. My situation's quite precarious, to be totally honest. People might see my content, you think, oh, he's confident, or he's this. Doesn't change my financial situation, though. Some of us don't get lucky like that, you know. So we sacrifice all the time for our happiness and well-being with the incredible financial stress that hangs over us. And sometimes I make reckless decisions financially. I might leave a job and it would cause me absolute distress. I might say, look, I want to buy this even though I can't afford it. I genuinely can't afford it. But I don't care, because I just need something right now for my own peace and sanctity. And I have a desire just like everybody else. And I'm going to take the sacrifice for that. And there's a consequence. But sometimes it's worth it, but it's not worth it all the time. But it's like, you know, you can't be perfect all the time, but you can be responsible for your life, you know? So if someone says to me, UK's horrible, I'm like, I don't, it's not horrible. Not the life I live in England. Not the life I live in England. My money's tight, but that's not just life. That's not all of life. You know, I think that's the thing. Some people just they got no sense of reality with the rest of the country. So if you find yourself in a horrible area and you're not happy, it's like, it's up to you to take action to remove yourself from there. But again, it's established in your own mind what happiness is, and then build towards it. That's actually what I do, you know. And then all of a sudden, your dreams start coming true. But it's not usually at the click of a finger. It's usually over time, and it's because you've created sort of a pattern of behavior, a sequence of events that allowed that to come to fruition. So, like I said, one day I'd love to live in the countryside. I like to be away from people. I really do. I like my solitude, and I find it incredibly peaceful. Like, and that's what I'm drawn to. So I see, like, for instance, you just see the fields here, the open fields. Like I said, some people see it as boring. For me, it's peace. All of a sudden, all those gaming habits I have, all those technology, you know, dependencies, I don't care. In those moments, I genuinely do not care. So sometimes the things we do and the habits we have are a way for us to survive through a moment. And I'm aware of that in my own life. Like, I know, and I'm trying to stem it. So sometimes I'm like, I'm curious about buying this. I'm curious about buying that. And I actually, rather than be so impulsive anymore, I make myself think about it for a good few hours. I could lose a whole day searching and searching and searching, bore myself to death, come to some sort of epiphany, you don't need it, and then I don't get it. You know, sometimes I do treat myself, but I would say that wasn't a wasted day. That was a lesson for me to learn not to do that, because it's you just coping in a situation because you feel a bit lonely and you think it's going to fill a void, and it'll fill a void for a moment, but then we're going to want something else to fill the void yet again. So within my life, I feel lonely, not by the fact that I'm immensely alone at times. It's more the fact that I haven't met people who align with me. You know, I have high standards. And it'd be nice if one day I met other people with very high standards too. Um, I don't like toxicity. I don't like chaos. And again, if you allow yourself to live with those things and people that are really negative, it's like, well, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel negative because that's all you're around. So it doesn't matter where you live. Honestly, it doesn't even matter in the end. It really matters on what you create and the life you're building. So you could place yourself anywhere on the planet, and it's kind of like, just try to find a way to maintain your integrity, maintain being yourself, and setting standards around your life. And all of us, it does it. And then eventually you've got your home as your sanctuary. And then from there you can build. You either build your home up if that's something you really want to do, or you use it as a base to then, like, travel and do other things. Um, but again, lifestyle choices dictate our life, and that includes the people we allow in our life. And I think it's just very, very short-sighted to just keep saying the entire country is crap because people live in pockets of areas where they don't feel comfortable, or it doesn't feel very fulfilling. You know, we all have our problems. We all have our problems. No one would understand half of my financial burden, and unless they was in it, they would be shocked how I cope. To be totally honest, but I'm used to it, and I think that just creates character anyway. So I can cope. I can cope for a lot. I can cope. I can lose a lot, and I still see the positive in it because I just see everything as potential for change anyway and new beginnings. So even if you lost everything, it's like, okay, so now I get to start fresh. Let's start fresh. Okay, you you can let things weigh you down, or you just take the opportunity. But yeah, I just want to really inspire people, really, just to sort of. It's not just go after your dreams. It's like just build a place that your sanctuary. Like, where is it? Where would you want it to be? And it's like gravitate towards that. Don't let people just keep telling you that everything's freaking terrible. When I don't believe for a moment it is. I think certain areas are, and I think for certain policies around the world, certain governments, all these things. But even I can find happiness. Like, you put me in America, and I think it's incredibly toxic right now. But I'd find my peace there. I wouldn't interact with certain things. Like, for instance, I don't really have much faith in the legal system, so I would try my best to avoid the police because I don't trust them out there. So it would just be like, let's not get into situations where we attract that attention too much, And it's like, again, just live a simpler life. I'm happy. I go to a restaurant, have a meal, just do normal things, but you don't have to associate yourself with really crazy, unhinged people because. Again, what do you think is going to happen if you associate yourself with people who don't have their life in order and they're a bit chaotic? What do you think is going to happen to your life? And people always do that. They try to destabilize you to validate. I talk about a lot to validate their own misery, really. So if you have a dream, you have some people that crush the dream, and some people that actually inspire you to pursue it. And I would say the ones that are trying to crush a dream, you don't really want them in your life. You don't want them in your life, until they figure out what it is they want. Because that's the thing. Most people can't even define what happiness is. If you said to them, what's happiness mean to you? I don't know. The world's crap. Oh, well, great answer. Well done, you. You're fun to be around. You're going to be great. Some people just find comfort in misery. That's the trouble. Like, there's so many nuances to this, but I just want people to realize that just, don't believe all the crap, really. It's like, I'd say it like a basic life, and I like basic though. I don't care if people consider it boring because I just don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. I like to be at peace, and peace to me, to other people, is boring. I don't care. So someone could say, "Oh, this is horrible here." Well, what's your daily task like? Let's say you go to work. You've got to commute to work, so you go to work, you come home, you can do whatever you want at home, and whatever that is. Whether you enjoy entertainment, whether you do crafts, whatever you do at home life. And then you decide to go out. And it's the same for any country. You decide to go out. What you can do, you're going to go to the movies. You want to go out for a meal. You want to go on adventures. You want to find a random place to go. You want to go ice skating. You want to go swimming. There's all sorts of things. It's just most people won't even think outside the box to think, oh, that'd be fun. They literally just sit down moaning, do the same things that make them miserable, and then say, it's crap. It's like, mate, it doesn't. These opportunities exist in most countries. And it's like, literally, it's lifestyle choices. It comes down to lifestyle choices. As simple as that. It's like, a lot of the time, it comes down to keeping yourself to yourself, though. Be selective of who you allow around you. And then be open to pushing yourself outside your comfort zone sometimes, but allow yourself that time to peace and sanctity, really, to not be pressured all the time. Just be yourself. Be yourself, and you'll be happy with who you are and what you're building towards, Like I say, you go to work in the countryside, you come home. That was a nice journey, wasn't it? Like, obviously the commute can get tiring, but that's fun. So, like, maybe don't work in the city is one of my answers, really. If you don't like it, don't be in it. So anyway, I don't think anyone watching these videos, in all honesty, would think the UK looks crap. I think you'd be a bit nuts if you said it is, but then maybe, like I said, some people don't like the countryside. And then maybe some people haven't even seen the countryside because they haven't even stepped outside their city. They treat it like they're freaking fortified, can't leave this. Maybe they're not comfortable leaving that. But if you prepare, like, off topic a little bit, I always find it quite sad that tourists, perhaps in some countries, see more of the countries than the natives there. So, for instance, let's say Greece. Maybe you go on holiday and you go and visit the islands. You see multiple islands on one holiday, or you go different times. And then you go to Athens, you go mainland Greece. I'm very curious about how many Greek nationals have actually seen their own islands. I think that's really sad. Um, that I think some countries just have poor finances, or maybe they don't have the luxury of time off because not everywhere offers holiday allowance. So sometimes I think appreciate the privilege that's extended, because even somewhere like America, for instance, they don't even have to give holidays. Some companies allow time off, like holiday at their discretion, but they don't have to. It's not legally binding, and it's absolutely outrageous to me that you only get your weekends off or whatever your shift allows like what your weekly working schedule. But that's crazy to me. That's a terrible work life balance. Um, but again, I don't. I just think sometimes there might be places that are better, but there tends to always be somewhere worse. And it's not about just like making excuses as to why you settle. It's not about settling. It's about just finding your peace. And I think that's just really important.